Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
Brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios as the shot father, Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com. Looks like you're about to go deliver a load of prisoners
Mobile
to the county
version.
jail.
Mobile version today. Hey, no jail jokes. No jail jokes.
that one was just too easy, and I figured I better do it before somebody else did. It'd be easier coming from me.
Good point.
But no, and I'm glad that you are just always affable in regards to being jokey about that. Seriously, I'm not sure that I would be. I might punch somebody in the nose.
15 years later, you wouldn't.
That's probably true. Man, there is so much going on of all things this weekend in the basketball state. I talked earlier. You've got a regional round at Indianapolis of the NCAA tournament with not only Purdue playing in that, but Houston playing in that. Just tons of great teams, obviously. And then the Indiana State Finals going on. Can't wait to talk to you about some stuff that I learned, that one of which I either forgot or just didn't know in regards to when you were there in '89. And so looking forward to all of this that's going on this weekend. Just a gigantic basketball weekend in Indiana, but it always is in March. But yesterday, in talking to Kristen Airy, who's with us, the Lakers played the Pacers the other night. That still jacks my chain. That I was like, why are there 3 Lakers around the basket, but not one Pacer? I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But Austin Reeves had 23 points in that game, and Chris said that his father played for Kokomo in 1989. Brian Reeves. Did you know him?
I mean, I didn't realize that was his father.
Yes.
I know who Brian Reeves was for Kokomo for sure.
His son plays for the Lakers, man.
That's Reeves' father?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. They play a lot alike. He's just taller than his dad was. But yeah, he was a really good point guard for Kokomo. And we prepared really hard for him. We spent a lot of time talking about, he ran their whole offense. He was a really, really good player for Kokomo. So yeah, I 100% know who he is, but I did not realize that was his dad.
Well, I learned that yesterday. I was like, whoa, wait. I'm like, golly. But it's always like that with an Indiana Final Four. You had Pat Graham and the Gibson brothers. I find out about the Reeves. And then, of course, Lawrence North, though they were poor. They had Todd Leary, Eric Montross, and Derwin Webb,
Nope. We did not have Derwin Webb.
Well, I didn't think so. That's why I was like, where did that come from? I don't know.
He was there the year before. He was there the year before, but he had graduated. He was a year older than me. So he was at Louisville already by that point.
Okay. I was wondering why I didn't. I'm like, I don't remember that. And so that explains that. Thank you.
There you go. Yep.
Was anybody on South Bend St. Joe's the 4th team of note? I know they had some hell of a players. They had a great team there. They like 54-2 in the last 2 years or something.
Yeah, I know they were I think probably the favorite going into, the Final Four there. But yeah,
they had knocked off Marion.
Yeah, and Marion was kind of our bugaboo. They were the hurdle we couldn't get over. In all my time at Lawrence North, we never beat Marion when I was there. Now, of course, the first couple times was Jay Edwards and Lyndon Jones.
Yes.
Beat us by 50, literally 50. I'm not like exaggerating that. They beat us by 50. So yeah, it was just South Bend St. Joe had Rodney Holmes and some really good players, guys that were on the Indiana All-Star team, but they were just a really, really good, solid team, and we just
this Fishers team is now. What the hell?
This Fishers team is more than a solid team. They do everything right. Like I've watched them play a couple of times, and boy, they are fundamentally sound. They're athletic. They do things the right way. They play hard. They dive on the floor. Like they're a good team. They're a fun team to watch.
Well, they're obviously a good team. They haven't lost in
a couple years. Yeah.
So and to do that in Indiana 4A, that's making some hay, baby, and putting it in the barn.
No doubt.
But your old friend Sharon Wilkerson and his Jeffersonville Red Devils are the last hurdle in their path, as they will play for a state championship. Very happy for Sharon.
Yeah, great dude.
You know as well as I how much of a 180 he has also done. And boy, would that be cool to see him win a state championship as a coach for Jeffersonville, having won one as a player as well. That would be kind of special.
Oh, incredible. I mean, very few people in that category. So yeah, it'd be super cool. A big task, you're right, but Jeffersonville has a really, really good team too. They've got 3 players I saw play in AAU last year that are all D1 players. Like this will be a really, really good game, and easily I think Fisher's toughest opponent over the last couple of years.
Oh, and we can't forget about the Orleans Bulldogs. They're up in Indianapolis as well, baby, right down the road from us. I bet this is going to be like a kind of a Hoosier-esque kind of moment. I'd say about half of Orleans may be up in Indy, baby.
No doubt. Yeah, this is, when I go on my rants and say how much I hate class basketball and all this stuff, how they ruined it and all of that, then these circumstances come around and you're like, all right, it's not the worst thing in the world. I still don't love it. I wish it was one class. But when you get to see kids have this opportunity and an entire community like Orleans have this kind of opportunity, I get it. It makes it fun.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think that it's better for the bigger schools to beat the bigger schools all the way to get there. And I'm the same with you. It's, you pine for how things used to be, but things aren't the way they used to be anyway.
Right,
so
right.
Schools are so much freaking bigger. I mean, there wasn't, when Milan won the state championship, there was no 5,000 student Carmel High School.
Right.
Big difference.
Yeah. And I get it. But the thing, like my argument against that used to be, it wasn't just the state championship. Like teams winning their sectional in some of the smaller communities was the biggest thing that went on. Like it was so much fun. It's such a gigantic deal. And to knock off, some Goliath somewhere, like those are the memories that are just fun. And the movie Hoosiers is the perfect example. And if we had class basketball, that movie never exists. And I think a lot of us in Indiana and a lot of people across the country feel like that's one of the best sports movies that's ever been made. So,
there's no question. Absolutely. It's number one. It'll always be number one.
For us, it is for sure.
Exactly. We're not alone either. A lot of people feel that way. Speaking of Hoosiers, something that is not Hoosier-esque, how about Alabama hitting 25 3-pointers last night? I just kept watching that scoreboard. It was just like a slot machine going up. They had 100 points with 6 minutes to go in the game. And I'm like, they're going to score 125 points in this game, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was whoever Alabama played yesterday, they were going to beat. That was, an unfortunate circumstance for BYU. Honestly, think about how close of a game it was with about 12 minutes to go, even considering how many threes Alabama hit. So it's not like BYU played bad. they just ran into, the buzzsaw.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure. And no one was going to beat Alabama yesterday. If they shoot like that, no one will beat them.
no, but I
They've been
don't
shooting
think
that
that's
way.
going to
They've
hold
not
up
been shooting
for.
that way. Yeah. Oh,
And
they shot terrible the last couple of games. So yeah, they were due.
a great question that came in from Carl. It said, "What are your thoughts on Bryson Tucker not portaling yet? Seems ironic since he didn't play much at the end of the season." And my answer was, well, I took a hint when that Kanan Carlisle and Miles Rice hit the portal after what I expect were conversations with Coach DeVries, but that's an assumption. I think that Bryson Tucker is either going to stick around or he certainly has serious thoughts about it right now, because the reason he didn't play at the end of the year, I think that was a shutdown from either his camp or Woodson's camp for whatever reason. But that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, if he doesn't go into the portal, it would kind of surprise me. And this is just my opinion on the portal in general. Every kid, I think, should probably check his value, unless you're like a person who knows, where they're going to go and they're going to get top dollar anyway, where they're already at. But that's pretty rare circumstance. I mean, I'd put my name in the portal, and most of the people I played with would put their name in the portal at this, given the way college basketball is today. So yeah, it surprises me a little bit that he hasn't. I still think he might. But that's just me guessing. I don't know that at all.
Well, his game, and I think you said this, his game seems to really play into Darian DeVries' style of playing.
It does. And you also look at, Indiana has a big budget. And, I mean, is he going to make more money going somewhere else? If he's not going to fit in here at all, then yeah, you definitely need to look at going somewhere else. But I don't think that's the case, and I probably don't think he feels the way that way either. So, I don't know. Indiana is in a unique situation because although I think a lot of kids should put their names in the portal no matter what every year just to test their value, Indiana is going to pay more than most places are anyway. So I don't know. It doesn't surprise me, although it kind of does in some circumstances, because I can see how you'd want to test the market or maybe go back closer to home. I thought Maryland might be a place he might want to go until all of the craziness that's gone on with their staff or an AD and all that in the last week. So I'd say they're probably on hold there too.
Well, and staff DeVries is still putting together, but there are certain people that I think is known that are coming over. Is Preston Murphy, that name. Drew Adams is a name I keep hearing from Cincinnati. Of course, son of Mark Adams, a lot of AAU connections.
Right.
And that would be something that I could see happening, because that would help Darian DeVries with a recruiting connection and more of a connection with Indiana as a whole.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a big deal for them to have a much bigger presence in the state from the high school recruiting perspective. I think Purdue's pretty much had that locked up for the last, several years, and I don't think it was a focus for Coach Woodson. I do think it will probably become more of a focus with this staff. So definitely getting intertwined in the AAU world is going to be important. And although I know the portal's gigantic and big, bringing in that one or two high school guys every year that you can develop for a couple of seasons, I think is the recipe for success. And I think Purdue proves that.
And there's probably going to, if you land them, if you have the opportunity, and Indiana will have these opportunities in the future to land a Cooper Flag, a bona fide 5-star one and done, you're not going to turn that down. And I'm not saying you build your team on that, because you don't. You can't build a program that way. But at the same time, all you got to say is Duke's doing okay this year, not having a bad season. You're not going to turn a player down of his caliber, but at the same time, you'd certainly like to have as many Trent Sisley types as you can, and then you're going to mix it in with portal. It's just how it's the nature of the beast now.
It really is. And, just look at the teams that are still playing, including the ones that lost yesterday. Look at their rosters and look at where the guys came from. A lot of them are put together with exactly like what you're talking about. There's a couple guys that have been there for a few years. There's a couple of guys that are brand new. And I think that's probably going to be the way that things are. Looking at the Sweet 16, I mean, don't want to throw around the word blue blood, but you had mostly power schools in that. And, I think that's a result of the portal. And, every year the mid-majors to Division II teams are going to get, pilfered through and they're going to become farm systems for the Power 5 or power conferences. And I think that proves itself.
I assume you got a chance to meet DeVries the day that he was introduced, because
I did not.
Oh, you did not? Okay,
I did not.
I didn't know. I didn't know. Have you had a chance to talk to him at all yet? I know he's busy as heck.
I've not. I know Scott Dolson's always great about us in contact and all of that, and I just respecting his trying to feel his way around right now and just figure stuff out. I think last thing he needs is some schmo calling him trying to introduce himself. But I will eventually. This schmo will do it eventually.
Well, yeah, it is. He does have a few things on his plate. I mentioned the high school finals, which he'll probably be up there on Saturday. And I'm not sure that there's a lot of guys to look at, but you know what? There may be some guys that Indiana has kind of looked over. Trace Singleton from Jeffersonville is one of those, going to DePaul right now. He's a player, but again, other than the fact that now the scholarship limit is going to be 15, I bringing in freshmen, you're not going to bring in 3 or maybe 4 freshmen. I don't think you're going to have a class bigger than that. You don't need to now because there's going to be a lot of change. But those 4 guys are important, and you want the 4 best guys you can get. And
for this season, for right now, given what's happened in the last month, it's almost a political move. Like DeVries has to show up. And it's something that Mike Woodson didn't make a priority.
Right.
And I do think it's something that should be a priority, even if you're not recruiting one player, from any of those schools. Being there, that you never know. You never know when there might be a Cooper flag come out of Jeffersonville or, Fishers or wherever it might be. And you've got to put that time and effort into it. It's just part of the job.
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to seeing all that goes on this weekend. There would be no reason for him to go to the NCAA tournament, so I would not expect to see him up there. He's got plenty to do, putting together his staff, like I said, and the portal. He is there focused on the portal, and until he has his staff put together,
right,
that has to be very difficult navigating all this stuff. I know he has people helping him. I know Scott is probably has some guys that are naturally good at that, or there may be guys that are behind the scenes from the previous staff that are helping. I don't know, but there's no way he's doing it all by himself. It's just too much.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not the way things work. Like, there's just too much to do and too many people to sift through and vet and see what they're all about. Not just as a guy, I think he made this pretty clear, and not just as a guy need to be talented. He needs to fit the culture that we're trying to create. I say we, I shouldn't say that he's trying to create, because Indiana doesn't have a culture right now. And that culture used to be winning and doing things the right way. And that's gone away. And I think that's what he wants to get back to, but finding guys that are not only talented and fit the system, but also fit the culture that he wants to put in that locker room. He mentioned the locker room and how important that was multiple times in his press conference. So, not only is it finding talent, it's finding the right talent.
Oh, very Signetti-esque.
Yep. Finding
the right fits. And I think that sounds obvious to a lot of people, but it just doesn't always work out that way. When you look at that, you're like, man, Indiana's roster was kind of like that, a little wonky, but you've got to have the right fits for what you are trying to do, or it's going to make it very difficult to achieve your goals.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? Like, it's going to be another interesting year. This is, I think, one of the benefits of the portal is it used to be once the season was over, you knew pretty much what your roster was going to look like the next season. And sometimes that wasn't all that exciting. Well, right now, not only when the season is over, but we get a whole nother month and a half to sit here and be excited about who we might sign, who we might get, who might come here, how he's going to fit, all the different things. And just watching all the coaching moves and all the portal moves these next couple of weeks will be, not interesting, but fun in my perspective.
Yeah, one of the things that we've talked about, though, is the fact that the portal opens during the NCAA tournament.
Stupidest thing I've ever seen. How does that make sense?
Pippen from Michigan, who plays, don't they play tonight?
Yeah.
He's in the portal.
Yeah, makes no sense. None of it makes any sense.
And
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I get it. Like you know what? You know what makes that smart? Because he's getting to audition. He's in the portal and he's getting to say, hey, Arkansas, hey, Kentucky, hey, whomever, what am I worth? What if he goes out and has a couple of really good games? Like great point. Production over potential. That's the Signetti way. And that's kind of what the Pippen kid is saying. Hey, look, I'm in the portal and you get to watch me audition for you right here all weekend long. So, yeah, I think it sucks because they put these kids in the position that they almost need to put their name in the portal, even though their team is still playing. And that's just a bad position that the NCAA's put them in.
Yeah, I said earlier that Trey Singleton was going to DePaul. I meant Northwestern. Same city. I just had the schools mixed up. But still, I think he's someone that will be looked at. And, for all the people that were pining for Braylon Mullins, I'm like, just relax. Let him have a year at UConn. He may be back. You never know. If he turns out that you want him back, it may not be. There may be the flavor of the month next year. You never know. I don't know that that's at this point, after having lost his recruitment, it would be good to get it back. And like you said, I use that line all the time, and I tell him that you said it, that I'd be, at his house offering him a ride to school. And we don't know what
just to see, because you never know. Like look, the last years, there's been no question about it. UConn flew through 12 games in the NCAA tournament, 6 2 years ago and 6 last year, and they beat the snot out of everybody. You talk about flavor of the month. They were flavor of the 24 months. And they've not been that this year. And I think UConn is looked at totally different right now than they were this time last year. And especially when Braylon Mullins made his decision. And I don't know. I have no inside information. Don't know him at all. But I'm just saying, I'm sure it feels a little different now. Danny Hurley, when you're blowing everybody out in the NCAA tournament by 20-some points, you can get away with all the antics and goofiness that he has going on. But when you're not winning, that goofiness turns into starting to annoy some people, and just it's looked at different, and it's not accepted the same way. And whether that's right or wrong, it's just is. So I don't, you never know. You got to put the Braylon Mullins situation, and I shouldn't even use his name. You got to put these portal and recruitment situations. You just let them play out, because you never know, and you put them all in the category of you never know just what might happen. And I think Braylon Mullins probably falls into that category.
And I'm not suggesting that there's a great chance of it happening, but let's say for our argument's sake that it did happen, that he's had a change of heart and said, you know what, different coaching staff there. I think that's a system I would do well in, and they've offered me a good NIL package, and I can stay home. And he changes his mind. How big of a signal would that be for Darian DeVries sending out?
It would be gigantic. Obviously that would be, you'd be fixing a problem, and that problem, in my opinion, being former staff at Indiana didn't worry about recruiting the state of Indiana very hard, or high school kids in general that hard. And that's not uncommon nowadays. So I'm not just singling out that staff, but that's just the way that they were. I don't think it's the best one, and I don't think it's the best way to create a culture. And I think it would be a home run for DeVries if he was able to do something like it would. No, it'd be a grand slam. Like, that's not a home run is understating it. So, I mean, it'd be a big deal, but I don't think it's any kind of deal breaker. I'm not even wishing for it. I'm not even thinking about it, because if it's something that happened, hey, I mean, yeah, incredible situation, but there's just a lot of other things. I mean, you made a good point. You never know who's going to step up next year. Braylon Mullins last year, I think before the end of the season, was not rated nearly as high as he was halfway through the summer. Yep. And who's going to be the Braylon Mullins of this summer? And there'll be one. There'll be several. There'll be several. And they just might not be from Greenfield.
Yep. There's no question about that, because there always is. There's always another Todd Leary coming down the road, baby. They can put it up.
Let's find another Calvert. Find another Calvert.
That's a different type of player there.
There you go.
Braylon Mullins is more like a Todd Leary. He can put it up. Calvert could do a little bit more. He had that baseline drive move. Even when shooting from the baseline, he was driving, pump faking you, and put it with the flush. Speaking of flushing, well, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We've got the great Todd Leary with us, Shot Father from myjumpshot.com. If you have kids, no kids, nieces, nephews, great birthday present, Christmas present, graduation present, help them improve their basketball fundamentals. Go to myjumpshot.com. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. Glad to have you along on this big-time basketball weekend. The great Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com along for the ride as well. And the staff, I was talking about Mark Adams earlier. I forgot he was on Tom Crean's staff back in, was it 2009 to 11, I think. So he was around when Cody Zeller, Yogi Ferrer, Del Gersten, those kinds of guys. But familiarity with the program, probably something that Darian DeVries would love to have as well.
Yeah, and that whole family, you know, from the Bloomington area, and Mark Adams is very well intertwined in the AAU, especially the Indiana Elite program, and that's, you know, where Mullins and Sicily and those guys have played last year. So yeah, it's you know, and I don't know, you know, what level or role they would even be looking at for them, but having those kind of people getting back involved in the AAU scene, and especially the local Indiana AAU scene, is hopefully an important piece for this new staff.
Oh, absolutely. And yes, Andrew, I always say winning cures all ills, baby. It makes everything better. Rick would like to see find the kids that want to play for Indiana. I think that's going to be a mix. You're going to find kids that want to play for Indiana, like Trent Sicily and others, but there's going to be guys that just want to play. They want to play on a good team. They want to make a good NIL bag.
See, there's going to be a lot of kids who just want to play and get the NIL. Like, they don't even care about good teams. Everyone's going to say, oh, we want to win. You know, I want to go somewhere where I can win. A lot of that is talk. And you can tell by the way a kid acts and plays, whether that's talk or legit. And, you know, you get a kid like Sicily, it's legit. He wants to play at Indiana. He could be offered a lot more money at another school, and I think he would go to Indiana. That's the kind of kid, I agree with the comment, that's the kind of kid you want to go. That's who we want to root for. That's who we want to follow and be a part of.
How many of those kids are there left today? In today,
you don't need a roster of 12 to 15 of them. You need 4 or 5 of them, because they will.
Are there that many though in a given year?
Yeah, well, not 4 or 5 to come in, but when you build a culture, so Sicily's going to be there for 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so yeah, staggered across.
Add 1 or 2 in every year, and then you've created a culture where when you do bring guys in, they might learn a little. They might listen. They might learn. And when you bring in the right guys in the locker room, I'll say it again. Coach DeVries was very clear and specific about the culture he wants to create, and the locker room is important to him. And that locker room is a big deal because when it's bad, it's hard to overcome. And you get one bad apple in there, and the whole thing can go bad. So I think he's going to be very intentional about who he brings in.
Yeah, I just noticed someone had a much better comment than I did earlier that was better. I can't find it again, but it said, is Todd driving a Brinks truck delivering some NIL money right now?
That would be nice. If I did, I would pretend.
I would have you stop by here first and
There
say,
you go.
we're
There
heading
you go.
someplace else, baby. We do the show live mobile as well, but wouldn't be stopping. Be heading south. So
Unfortunately, I'm just moving stuff today. So yeah, it's not fun. Nothing fun. So
that does not sound
no
fun.
Brinks truck.
And you're missing out on a great golf day.
Yeah, I didn't. It's going to be windy. Too windy for me. I'm fair.
Oh, is it going to be windy? See,
I think so.
I don't have time to keep up with all that stuff.
Yeah, windy.
I'm just glad it's going to be nice.
It is nice.
I'm looking forward to that. The NCAA tournament this weekend, tonight, rather. Some big time games, man. Last night, Alabama was I still can't get over how they throttled BYU. But then you had daggone it. What was the game that just went back?
Texas Tech. Texas Tech coming back and winning that game against Arkansas.
Wow.
I wrote them off, not only because of the score. Arkansas just controlled the game. Like it was for 35 minutes, that game was controlled by Arkansas. And boy, that's what the NCAA tournament, March Madness, that's how the name comes about, because there's no way Texas Tech should have won that game last night, and they figured out a way to win, and that makes them a scary team, I think.
I'm not gonna lie, I was hoping that Texas Tech would win, mainly because didn't want another SEC team in there. I'm looking, I'm like, geez, they're already going to have half of the Elite Eight.
Yeah, well, they have 7 of 16, I think, heading into this weekend. So yeah, but that's, hey, honestly, I don't. They were the best program or the best conference across the country. I mean, I don't like admitting that because I always like to stand up.
Oh, it's the truth. Yeah,
but it wasn't even close. Like it wasn't close. They did deserve that many teams in.
And they're proving it. That's the thing. They proved it by, well, like you just said, 7 of 16. Whew, they're going to have 4 of the Elite Eight probably. And Ole Miss is one of those teams that was one of the middle SEC teams. So, and I don't bring that up for the Chris Beard thing.
Well, the Big Ten's got a big day ahead with 3 Big Ten teams playing tonight. I mean, that's the Big Ten's either going to be all out or it's going to be a really nice night.
I'd say that they'd only be favored in one of those games, Michigan State.
Yeah, the other 2 are not only not favored. Purdue and Michigan are big dogs. Like they're like 10-point dogs.
I do not see Purdue being able to hang with Houston. I think that they'll shut Purdue's guards down. We'll see. How do you see that game? You know better than I do.
Trey Kaufman-Wren has been such the focal point for Purdue, a lot like Edey was last year. I mean, he gets the ball. He gets opportunities to score more than maybe anyone else across the country. And I think how he has played and how they handle him, or how much success he's able to have, will really determine if Purdue can get the game to, if they could speed it up just a little bit, making some shots, and get a lead, I think the game plays out a lot different. If Houston's able to get out to a 10-point lead in the first half, that's a very difficult team to come back against. They put it in the grinder, they put it in the blender, and every possession is a grind down the floor. So if Purdue can get out to a lead, I like their chances of winning. I actually like Purdue's chances tonight. I really do. I think Houston they're very good, but they struggle to score. Not struggle. They're just not a high-flying team. They're not going to go do what Alabama did last night. And I think that gives Purdue a chance because Purdue's got, it's not just a Hail Mary chance. Like, they've got a decent chance, I think, tonight.
I think Kentucky loses to Tennessee, even though they beat them twice this year. But a point someone just made, yeah, Jeffrey, I just lost it. They keep moving around on me. He said that Big Blue Nation would have lost their freaking mind if Arkansas didn't choke that game away with Cal. Yes, and then especially if they would have won and Kentucky loses tonight, that would have really poured the salt right in that cut.
It would have. There's no doubt about it. But, I don't think look at it this way. Look at the big picture. You look at like a 10-year window right now. I don't think Kentucky would be disappointed with where they're at. I think they're set up in a pretty good spot.
They shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be. And when Mark Pope is able to continue over a period of 3 or 4 years to bring in players and create that culture that he wants, they're going to look a lot like probably a bigger, more athletic version of BYU. And that's what he created, in that culture and program that he was there. And I think he's going to bring a lot of that to Kentucky. And, that stings when a coach has success, when he leaves your program, not fired, but just leaves. And yeah, it would have definitely hurt their feelings.
And speaking of Kentucky, people don't forget next season, Indiana at Rupp Arena versus Kentucky. That is you talk about bringing excitement back. You got a new coach. You're going to have a new team, probably going to have a pretty good team. I don't like the chances of going to Rupp Arena. Without even knowing any situation.
Well, we don't know who any of the players are going to be, but we know who the coaches are going to be. And that's a start. So yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be a battle. It's not going to be an easy game. If it was going to be an easy game, we wouldn't be excited about it. So it's a great opportunity, and that's all you can ask for. In that first year, Indiana's got a chance to go do something that's pretty cool and play in Rupp Arena. So yeah, it's a big deal.
Just the fact that series is back is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And I'm telling you, I think that the Stars, it took a couple years, and I don't want to jump the gun here, but I think the Stars are going to align for this Indiana program to get back to where it should be. Now, I'm not talking about getting back to where it was when you played, because I don't think that kind of dominance is going to happen much anymore, because you don't have coaches that could dominate like they did then. Now, because of how the college game is really being evened out with the NIL and the transfer portal, it makes it a lot tougher to do that. But I think it is going to head in the right direction of competing with teams like Kentucky, beating teams like Kentucky, competing in and winning, being competitive in the Big Ten, whether it's in first, second, third, or fourth. You're not going to win first every year, but just to be competitive instead of finishing 9th and 10th.
Yeah, I mean, look, Indiana has to get back to the point where they're in contention. And that's all you can ask for. That's what you want to work towards, that every year you're up there. You're like a Michigan State. And I know Michigan State won it this year. I'm telling you, that is one of the best coaching jobs that's been done in a long, long time that Coach Izzo did.
Is that the best coaching job he's ever done at Michigan State? Because he didn't really have a superstar.
It's tough because, I mean, if you don't win a national championship, for someone who has won a national championship, it's pretty hard to say that's a better coaching job. Winning the national championship, look, it not only takes incredible discipline and skill and all the things, it takes a little bit of luck. And it takes the ball bouncing your way in a certain game and at a certain time, and a ball going in or a ball not going in or whatever the case may be. There's a little bit of luck involved. And I was fortunate enough to win a state championship. We had a little bit of luck involved. Like we had, it takes a little bit of that. And every team that goes through that, outside of, and I will give them the credit, UConn the last 2 years has blown everybody out. They blew everybody out in the NCAA tournament. And so right now, this is a situation where, with the portal and with all of that, I do think it's going, when you create the culture, which is what Coach DeVries has talked a lot about, it's much easier to be consistently good. And I think that they're going to be able to bring in a guy or two every year. The best part about Indiana in today's nature of the beast is their NIL budget. And that bucket of money is going to attract players no matter what's happened in the past. Players don't care about that. These players don't care that Indiana hasn't been relevant in 25 years. These players nowadays don't care. We all thought, they all think they can be the thing that turns it around. And I think with Trent Sicily, I think with Coach DeVries and Trent Sicily coming in, you have a jump start on your culture. And that's something we didn't have a year ago. And I know a year ago when the season ended, there wasn't a lot to look forward to. I mean, we were looking at what roster was going to get put together. And then that didn't guarantee anything because everyone, I think, in Indiana was pretty excited about that roster. And we all thought a top 3 finish was not guaranteed, but pretty sure. And none of that came to fruition. And so, now I think Coach DeVries, I'm so excited for the fact that culture is what comes out of his mouth almost first, because that's what I've been jealous of for Purdue for the last several years. And you can ride all the craziness that goes on with NIL and all the stuff that's going on. Watch what happens with Purdue. I don't know anything. I literally don't know anything. But, I mean, it's going to be really hard for Purdue to keep the roster that they have. I see a lot of Purdue people post stuff about, look at what our starting lineup's going to look like next year. With the NIL situation, that's going to be a tough one for them to keep. They're going to have to at minimum triple their NIL budget. And I don't see that happening.
Yeah, culture, the one thing, while the game has changed a ton, the one thing that you still have to have is culture.
Yeah.
If you don't, you do not, there's no way you can have consistency if you don't.
But there's no doubt about it. And there's no way you can attract the right type of players if they come in and they don't know what's expected. And when you know what's expected, look, when we played for Coach Knight, we went in there. I hate to be Bill Walton and keep RIP, keep bringing up myself. But, I mean, when we went to play for Coach Knight, we knew what we were signing up for. I mean, yeah, did he headbutt people? Yeah. Did he kick people in the shin? Yeah. We knew that. We knew we signed up for it. And I'd sign up for it again today. And all of us would have. So it's just when you know what your expectations are, you sign up for it, you go with it. And, people don't sign up for the Army thinking that it's going to be fun. It's a discipline and a grind, and that's what it is.
Exactly. Great analogy. Todd Leary, as always, brother, you hit the nail on the head. Appreciate you.
Enjoy. Have a good weekend. Enjoy.
You have one as well. Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.